Benjamin, are you happy to wear masks and social distance in perpetuity, as JVT seemed to suggest last night?
I mean, what Jonathan Van Tam said was that there are definitely benefits, obvious benefits that we've learned through this virus pandemic this year, to not coming too close to each other, to wearing a mask in close company, to hand sanitizing far more regularly. And I think there's a lot of logic to that. Do I think that the government should keep the laws right now where you are fined if you don't wear a mask on a train or the tube, for example? No, I think after the pandemic, it's probably fair enough to not fine you. But do I think it should be public health advice from the government that it would be good practice for us all to keep doing those things when we're out and about in close contact, namely in the winter? And then I think, yes, that's a good idea.
Okay, so you want to change British culture for good then? Because can you imagine what a sad sight it would be looking at a football stand with everyone covering up their face, or being on a tube, not able to see what each other is looking like and our full face? I mean, that just doesn't seem like us. Maybe it works in Japan, but we're not Japan. We're Great Britain.
Dan, nobody gets on the tube to look at each other. You know, maybe you get fancy private cars around London, but when I get the tube, no one talks or looks at each other in the first place, long before this pandemic.
Benjamin, I go on the tube all the time. And one of the things I love about the tube is being able to people watch and see people. And I think we don't want to be covering ourselves up long term. I mean, Lance Forman, can you see any logic behind what Benjamin Butterworth is saying? Actually, we've got to maybe do this for the greater good.
Read my lips, Dan, which is something you won't be able to do if I'm wearing a mask. I'm very happy to socially distance from the type of people who want to force me to socially distance.
Like Benjamin.
That's about it. I just think that, you have to come back to the question of this vaccine. What was the point of the vaccine if it's not allowing us to get back to normality?
Yeah.
Normality means that we shouldn't need to wear all this special protection, and we should be able to go back to the way we were before. That was the whole point of the vaccine. Otherwise, why have it at all?
Yeah, Benjamin, isn't that the point, man? We're getting this vaccine in order to return to normal life. And I'm sorry, if you want to go to Glastonbury, Benjamin Butterworth, with a mask on, trying to keep 2 meters space from everyone, then you're living in cloud cuckoo land. That's not how life works. I want to go to a concert without a mask on. I want to get close to a whole bunch of beautiful strangers. And if it means that I've got to take the vaccine in order to do that, then fine. But for you to try and say we're going to vaccinate the entire population and then have to maintain social distancing and mask wearing, I think you've lost the support of the public there.
But hang on, what this is about, first of all, the vaccine will completely stop anyone dying or getting seriously ill. We don't know if it will stop passing it on. So that might be something that lives with us, and there'll be a real value to these precautions.
Yes, but we live with flu, we live with measles, we live with SARS, we live with HIV. Do you not understand, Benjamin? We live with a whole load of things. We've only ever wiped out one of them, smallpox.
Dan, you've made my argument for you. We've lived with HIV, sadly, for 30 years. And that's why people use protection when they're having sex with each other, because they know it's a sensible way to enjoy their lives without contracting the virus. You've made the point for me. And what I would say is...
Well, I haven't made the point for you, because actually there's a lot of treatments now for HIV. Just like Lance Forman, we live with no end of respiratory diseases. And of course we should take sensible precautions, washing our hands, keeping clean. But personally, I don't want our culture to change to the extent where keeping 2 meters distance from everyone and wearing a mask all the time becomes a normal way of life. That's not what I want. And I don't think it's what most ordinary Brits want.
Yeah, but also you have to understand that the body builds its immunity by coming into contact with disease, with dirt. One of the reasons I believe that we have so many issues in the West nowadays with food allergies and intolerances is because everything has just become so ultra hygienic that we've actually lost our human ability to defend ourselves. So there is something to be, I'm not saying that we should be totally reckless, but there is something to be said for actually making sure that we have our own natural immunity.
Benjamin's very angry about that. Benjamin, what's made you angry there?
I mean, I'm arguing against someone who's seemingly pro-dirt. I mean, that's just absurd. You might want to live in filth, Lance, but I think being clean and hygienic is not only good for ourselves, but it's good for the people we share this world and share our offices and tubes and trains and cars with, and that's responsible. And the point I would make is that countries like Malaysia that had viruses like these in recent years and changed their habits as a result, so they regularly wear masks, they wash far more regularly, they've seen a significant fall in the number of people getting things like flu during the winter, which has massively helped their health system.
Okay, so Benjamin,
nobody lost their jobs for wearing
but
masks,
let's just think about
lives.
Benjamin.
The reason that has happened, and there's been a lot of evidence on this, is because they've built up T-cell immunity. The immune system has built up a sort of memory bank from those earlier illnesses. That's why it's not happening. There's a lot of evidence in Spain for people wearing masks. Much more so than they were ever doing beforehand, and that hasn't affected the death rates with COVID. So
our immune system.
That's the issue here. The scientists do not agree, and what's been frustrating me over recent months is that the government just simply goes down one line, brings in one set of scientists, and the public, with social media and with the availability of information, people can go out and do their own research. And what they're finding is there's this whole massive information which is saying something completely opposite.
Yeah, and more and more people are doing that. More and more people are doing that.
Both sets of scientists together. Let them debate it out. Let the public see that debate. And then the government should decide how it wants to act and give its rationale for acting in a certain way. You're causing sort of untold concern and fear because people don't really understand. They're hearing too.
It's not fear, Lance. It's safety and reality, and it's good for us.
Well, no, Benjamin, hang on a moment.
Benjamin, how can it be safe when 30,000 people have died because they've been afraid to go to hospital or because they couldn't get appointments to hospital? That is, so much of that is built out of fear.
But you seem to think two wrongs makes a right.
Well, no, Benjamin, let me come in here. Benjamin, I want to just understand what you're saying, though, because if you really think about it, if you really think hard, what you are proposing is a fundamental change to British society and actually Western society as well. Because following your logic, Benjamin Butterworth, there'll never be a concert again. There'll never be a festival again. There'll never be a mass gathering again. There'll never be a full crowd in football stadiums again. So I think you need to be very careful with what you're saying, Benjamin Butterworth. You've got to make sure that's what you mean. Because if you are proposing a long-term implementation of social distancing and mask policies, think of the consequences, Benjamin. You will never be dancing in a nightclub again, surrounded by beautiful strangers who just want to be all together. Think about that. Think about the consequences of that.
I am not saying that people should not be able to crowd in a nightclub or go to a Steps concert as I would love to. I'm not. What I'm saying is that there are points in our lives where we can keep what we've been doing now, like wearing a mask or avoiding each other on the train, for example, not sitting right next to each other. And a great example
How do we do that, Benjamin?
Because it's easy and sensible and healthy. And may I make this point? All three of us are men. So I suspect, when we go to the men's toilets, we know full well that a lot of men don't wash their hands after doing that. They don't clean themselves. They don't sanitize regularly. That is something that wasn't okay. People have been much cleaner in those ways. It's clean and it helps stop spread
Benjamin,
viruses.
of course, everyone should be clean. But it's very, very different. If you are genuinely saying that you think we should never sit next to someone on a train again, you are talking about a total overhaul of the way we live our lives. No. In a major city like Manchester or London or Leeds or Liverpool, that would simply be impossible. So I think the whole point of a vaccine, Lance, is so that we can go back to our normal lives, so that we can sit next to people again on the train.
Well, whether it's a vaccine or it's our own natural immunity, of course we do. We should. What other animals in the animal kingdom wear masks to protect themselves in that way? We are essentially animals. We have this natural immune system. Of course, we should just do what we take personal responsibility to protect ourselves. That's another natural human instinct. But
That's just nonsense.
And if diseases do
Well, it's
come
not
out
nonsense,
of the flu,
it's
as COVID-19 did.
But saying that we should be like other animals in the animal kingdom. I mean, lions and cats and dogs can't perform surgery on each other. Should we not do surgery or have antibiotics? What a load of nonsense.
Which it's not nonsense at all. We have been designed with our own natural immunity. That's the point I'm making. And we also have these incredible brains that have the ability to devise innovatory sort of technology and vaccinations that can cure these illnesses, and that's great. And we've just come up with a vaccination now.
Yeah. And I think what maybe snowflakes like yourself, Benjamin, don't understand is that throughout human history we've had many of these coronaviruses and respiratory diseases which might start being pretty damaging, but as soon as there is a degree of herd immunity, we can go back to the way that we live. Final word to you, Benjamin.
Look, I think that we can learn something to help make each other safer and healthier in this. And we don't need to ban nightclubs or ban concerts and football matches, but there are ways in our daily life, like keeping a mask and sanitizing far more regularly, that I think we'd all be a damn sight healthier to take from this year as a healthy lesson.